It was one of the most controversial laws passed in recent North Carolina history. When the state passed HB 2, also known as the bathroom bill, it required people to use the bathroom of the gender on their birth certificate. Some say the law was discriminatory, but one opponent says the law is the best thing that's ever happened for transgender rights.
I call it hate bill too, and totally against it. It's 100% wrong. It was a knee-jerk reaction that was done in one day from people who don't understand it. They want to call me a pedophile, a pervert, a sex offender, but it's also the best thing that ever happened to transgender people.
Because it got you in the media, got the
discussion.
Got me
in worldwide news. The shot that was second shot heard around the world. People didn't know what a transgender people were. And now it's national news, international news. I get newspapers from around the country calling me up to talk about it. So, this horrible thing became, it's horrible, condemning, but it made it a public issue.
Roberta Dunn started life as Robert Dunn. She spent most of her life as a man. A fierce political conservative, she's now one of the leaders of the transgender rights movement in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her activism started after talking to city representatives about transgender rights.
Now I'm selling understanding and acceptance for transgender people and equality. And it's my job to be the ambassador at that point.
This led to a Charlotte City ordinance which gave protections to transgender people to use the bathroom of their choice. 1 month later, HB 2 passed into state law reversing the ordinance. Now Roberta Dunn is on a mission to educate the public about what it means to be transgender. At what age do you remember being like, oh, I'm a woman?
5 or 6 years old. I felt that I should be a woman. I felt different. I wanted to be. I'd look at my sister's clothes and I'd say that's how I should dress. I shouldn't have to dress like a boy.
What were some things that you would do as a child and then you'd be taught to not?
Dance around, want to sing, be ta-da.
Roberta is 73 years old. She's been out to close family members for more than 2 decades, but before she came out publicly 12 years ago, she'd only be herself after putting her youngest son to bed. She says hiding her true self became a way of life.
This was the shield, the mask that I could put around me so that no one could see what was inside of me and who I really was. And I knew it would go away, probably at puberty, but it didn't then. Maybe when I'm married, when I'm at 21, it didn't then. Maybe when I'm 40, but it didn't then. It was always inside of me.
Roberta thought if she ever told her secret, it could ruin her family's life. She came out to each of her 4 children individually. 3 of them did not want to be identified for privacy reasons. Michael is her eldest.
Went to the bar and had a couple double Jamesons and spoke on the phone with my brother and sisters, and took me a little while to accept it because it's a totally different. All of a sudden, somebody new is in your life.
Can you explain the feelings that you had seeing your father transition into a woman? The first time you saw Roberta as Roberta.
We were at a restaurant, and it wasn't the earrings, it wasn't the makeup, it wasn't the wig, it was when he went to pay for the bill for the dinner. When he reached into his purse and pulled out a woman's wallet and then pulled the credit card out.
Michael says it took time to fully understand his father and her new life.
I said, so are you mom? He said, oh, no. I am your father. I will always be your father. And that's never to change.
What do the rest of your siblings think?
Some are open and some are more reserved about how they feel about it. Some are a little bit confused or upset.
Roberta's daughter struggles to understand Roberta's transition. She recently got married.
She wanted me to walk her down the aisle as her father.
And this is after you were Roberta?
Yes, for 20 years.
Yeah.
22 years. I says, that's not who I am. She goes, this is my dream. I got married before I eloped, and I always want you to walk me down the aisle. So I did it. That was painful. Going to a wedding, being friendly with everyone, and not being who you really are.
Were you upset with her for asking?
No, if you love your children, when you have children, you just, hey, can I have the sky? You'll get them the sky. You love them. see you do it. But I told her, I said, there's a caveat to this here. I says, don't expect me to show up the day before as dressed as your father. And don't expect me after the reception, because you will never see me as your father again.
Who helped you the most during your transition?
My wife. She was there all the time. She encouraged me. She says, be who you are. And the first thing, says, if you're going to be who you are, you have to look good, you have to dress good. She would take me to shop. She'd embarrass the dickens out of me.
Roberta's wife has been by her side since she was Robert. They have been married for 33 years. They decided to stay together. Half of similar couples don't. Her wife did not want to be identified for privacy reasons. We interviewed her in shadow.
If you're a girl and you want other girls, that's also a deal breaker, because I'm not a lesbian. And at that point, she had to think about it for a couple of days, and she said, no, this is not a sexual thing. She said, I want to be with my wife. I want to be with you. I'm not looking for outside extracurricular activities. That's not my motivation in doing this. And that helped me to cope with it.
What was that conversation like when you first came out to yourself, in even your conversation in your head, and then also with your wife?
I looked at the risk. My marriage could be over. My life could be over. My job could be over. But I could begin.
So your marriage is better now that you've come out and
Absolutely.
are fully Roberta. It's better now.
100% better. It's hard to explain. I love her more now than I did when I married her.
Roberta credits her Christian faith for helping her through her transition and inspiring her to help others. After becoming a public figure in the transgender community, Roberta now travels across the country helping young people with their gender and sexual identities and educating students about transgender rights.
How many people's lives, estimate, do you think you've changed, that you've touched, that you've changed their mind about what they thought of transgender?
Thousands.
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 Did your faith help you get through the hard parts of transitioning?
My question originally was why? Why me? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? I didn't sign up for this. Where I have faith, and I'm not dying, I'm living, and I'm changing. And that's why I'm here. Because God said, Roberta, I got a job for you. I'm going to teach you how to sell, and you're going to sell. And now you're going to sell equality, you're going to sell love, and you're going to do it in my name. That's who I am.
Not everyone is happy about North Carolina replacing the bathroom bill. The new law doesn't include protections for transgender people and doesn't allow local governments to pass non-discrimination ordinances until 2020.